Well, I went back and looked at those first two helpful videos that I posted on my YouTube channel, and it looked to me like kind of like Grandpa talking to the youngins. So we're going to go back and redo that. Starting with this video. This video is going to be about my shack. Some things I like, some things you might like, something that might give you a little inspiration for your own shack, things that may not, some things you see that you definitely don't want, some things you might want to try to have, different things like that. But anyway, it's a tour of the shack, and hopefully it'll give you a little idea of some things that can be helpful to you a little down the road. Now, I know as a new ham, you're first worried about getting your license, getting your first radios, and some things like that, and we'll talk about that along the way as we go. But here's a tour of my shack and how it got started. So here's my shack. It started out because my wife thought I was making a little too much noise in the house, and so thought it would be a good idea to get out of the house. She was tired of hearing CQ, 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 and she was tired of hearing the static, and she was really tired of hearing the CW keys. So I started trying to figure out a way to put it in maybe the garage or something where I'd be more out of the way. And then I remembered I have this building out here that you're looking at right now. It was a building that held the lawnmowers, and I had a couple of saws out here. I had a table saw, just a bunch of tools and stuff in here. And generally, it just was this place that collected dust and dirt and cobwebs and spiders, and you know, it just was an old tool shed. Almost everything you see here was made either out of scraps or stuff that I got really cheap. The only really expensive piece of wood that I bought was I bought one piece of really nice plywood, 3/4 inch oak plywood. I made the desktop out of it. I made the cutting tabletop out of it. I already had the piece of plywood that I made the top for the sewing area in, so that wasn't. I also had to buy a few 4x4s to make table legs, you know, just to help support the tables. After it was all said and done, I bought some special trim just to trim out the tables and the desk and stuff with, because I wanted it to look nice. I mean, it's my shack, you know. I spend quite a bit of time out here, so I did that, and I'm really happy I did it. It looks nice. Just recently, the original floor that was in this shack was just 2.5 inch plywood. And it was getting kind of soft in a couple places because I don't think it was really intended for all the traffic that it's had since I moved out here. So I got to looking around for a way to put a new floor in, and flooring was really expensive. I didn't want to really spend much money, and I found this lumber down in another sawmill down south of where I live, and it was really cheap wood, and it turned out to be really cheap wood. It was supposed to be tongue and groove, and it was 10-foot tongue and groove, and I was just going to make flooring, a plank floor out of it, but it was so warped and crooked, and the tongues and grooves didn't match up and different things like that. But I was able to make it work out, and how I made it work out was I cut it up into a bunch of very much smaller pieces than you would normally use for a floor, and fitted them together like a jigsaw puzzle. So I ended up with a pretty nice looking floor. I made this nice little inset in the middle, but I ended up covering that up with a rug anyway, because the rug helps dampen the sound in here for when I'm using the microphone. So here you can see my little heater. I got a little heater out here in the winter time right now. It's pretty darn cold in down in this part of Texas. Not usually this time of year, but it is, and so I have a heater out here for when it's cold. And you can see over here I have an air conditioner in the wall, built into the wall, for when it's hot, which is most of the year here. I intend to, when I can afford it, which I couldn't at the time I built the shack, but when I intend to get a wall unit that will both heat and cool, and that will eliminate the need for this extra little heater that I have in here. You can see it's decorated kind of like I like it. I got some shelves over here in the corner. They're corner shelves because I was trying to make the best use of the building. And they have some of my favorite things on there, not the least of which is my reaper, which I made, a little diorama plastic model kit, and some of my favorite things that you can see on here. Also, one of the most important things that you would have in a radio shack or a ham shack would be a coffee maker. You can see here I have a Keurig, and I have to bring water out here for it, but that's no problem. And I use it every single day. And you can see over here my coffee cup sitting in a very prominent place on the desk that I use every day. So you know, there you go. Got to have coffee in the ham shack. Here's the desk that I use. It's a corner desk. It's built into the corner. Again, I wanted to make the best use of the space in the building, and I think I did make pretty good use of it. It's all very practical and usable, and the back corner back there makes a place to put all the wires, and so that's helpful. And then I covered those up with another piece of wood. You can see here my radios. I'm not really wealthy in radios and radio equipment, but I do have an IC 7300, which was well worth the investment and has been a joy to own. I also have an MFJ 945E tuner. It's really a mobile tuner, but it was kind of a cheap tuner, and it was all I could afford at the time, and it works really pretty well. You can see here on the wall that I have an antenna switch that switches between a G5RV antenna, which is full size, and a 40-meter inverted V antenna, which is out there too. I also have a 2-meter antenna. It's a J-pole that I bought on eBay for about $30 or $32 or something like that, and it's worked just wonderfully. So there's that. My 2-meter radio is just a cheap Chinese radio. I think it's called an Anytone radio, and it's just simplex, and I just really use it to talk around to the guys here in town on the repeaters and stuff. I can talk to some of the surrounding communities by hitting their repeaters, and so it's just a kind of a talk around radio to the local guys. But the IC 7300 I use for HF, and I have really good luck. And with my 2 little antennas hanging off that pole out there, I've had really good luck. I've talked as far away as Japan, Australia, and you know, it really serves me well. This monitor I have for the computer is something I bought at a garage sale for $20. It's an LG 24-inch TV, and it was almost brand new. The guy just decided he didn't want it. He didn't like it, and didn't like, you know, where he had it in the house. So he sold it for 20 bucks. I have clocks on the wall that help me because I'm forgetful in my old age here, and the places I talk to most often, or maybe not most often, but the most frequently. I have Tokyo, I have Australia. And the black clock that you see here on the wall is Universal Time or Zulu Time, which is a friend of mine that I talk to just about every day, and I'm always forgetting what time it is in Boa Vista, Brazil, so I keep that time there. And then I have one here for local time. I have this little computer that I just bought recently, and it's for all things radio. It's a pretty much a single-use computer. It's got Windows 10, so I can do searching and stuff like that. It's got all my logging software and all those records on it, and it's got a word processing program on it, so I can do the word processing that I need to do, and email. The lighting in here is all digital. They're all digital lights, and I got a lot of it in here, but I try to keep most of it off when I'm working on the radio, because as you know, that sometimes causes a little interference, a little noise, a little static, and I don't like that very much, and so I keep them mostly off when I'm in here working. I also have an SM30 microphone that I use with my IC 7300. It's a real good microphone, and I've gotten a lot of compliments on how it sounds. Other things on the desk, of course, the keyboard, the mouse. I keep a pad and a pencil, or I keep a little notebook actually and a pencil, so I can go back and look at notes I made earlier if I want to go back and look up a call sign or a person or whatever it was. That's handy to have around. I also have a little, it's a whetstone. And when I'm sitting here waiting, making calls and waiting for people to answer and stuff, I sometimes work on my pocket knife and this and that. The door to this building over here is a great big door. It's a big door, and it's very hard to insulate and very hard to get to close right, and it's a constant issue. and I hope to replace it soon with just a regular normal door when I can afford it. I keep my fun pictures on there of me and the family, and I put my Christmas cards and birthday cards and stuff up there. And you can see a couple of pictures there when I was in Roswell, New Mexico this past summer. I have a cabinet on the wall over here that I bought real cheap. It was a discontinued display that they had, and I got it for $10. And the chairs were like $20 a piece, and they're nice office chairs, and they're really pretty comfortable, and I spend a lot of time sitting in them, so I would tell you if they weren't. So that's my shack. Maybe it'll give you a little bit of inspiration for a shack you want to have now or on down the road as you grow in progress. If you're a new ham, this is probably not the very first thing is on your mind, but it kind of gives you an idea where you can go. And I wanted to redo my videos, starting with this one for new hams. Once again, as a new ham, people assumed I knew a lot. People, because I have gray hair, assume I know a lot. And I don't. I don't know much about electronics or ham radio or this or that. I was a radio operator in the Navy in 1973 and a CW operator in the Navy in 1973. And I knew about how to operate radios and stuff like that, and I remembered the code. But I had to get back up to speed on that, and I have never been a person that was heavy into electronics or building electronic things and so like that. So people assume I do that, and I do know that, and I'm sure once you get your license, people will assume the same thing, and then they'll tell you if you don't know, you should know. But let me tell you something, your license is not a license to build electronics. Your license is a license to operate radios on certain bands. And I think you should keep that in mind, and I think you should have a lot of fun with it, because this is a fun hobby. I'm also about to do a video on CW, straight keys and stuff like that, because I think that's a lot of fun, and I think you can get a lot of enjoyment out of that and a lot of fulfillment from it. So please hit the subscribe button. Please leave your comments. If you have any questions, please leave your questions in the comments section. I'd love to take your questions. I'd love to help you out any way I can. And we'll start over again on these new videos, for the brand new ham. And this being the first one, and we'll start again in next time. So this is Jim, W5FIV. There's a story behind that. My nickname's number 5, and so I got the vanity called W5FIV. My friends will understand that. If you're not my friend yet, I'll let you know about it soon.